Welcome back. In this week's segment of Capital Connection, we talk about the potential for marijuana legalization in Wisconsin, and we check in with recent bills passed by the Assembly and the Senate. Here's CBS 58's Emily Fannin and WisPolitics editor J.R. Ross.
We're going to start the show this week talking about a proposal that a lot of Democrats, at least, have a lot of high hopes for, and it deals with marijuana legalization. So what was new this week is that we had another insight from Assembly Speaker Robin Vos hinting that there's likely going to be some action, he said. He wants to draft legislation, get it on the floor by this fall to vote on a medical marijuana proposal. Now, we don't know what is in the details yet. The devils are always in the details, but there's a lot of backstory to this, and that's what I wanted to have this discussion about, JR, because anything, it has to have both, houses to have support. And for a very long time, Senate Majority Leader Devin LeMahieu has said as long as the federal government considers this, as not a substance that's not approved by them, he's not going to back it. But he did say around winter of last year that he would consider a medical marijuana bill in his chambers. Now, that doesn't mean he would vote for it, but we're hearing from both leaders now saying there could be some movement, but really depends what's in this bill. And Democrats, will they vote for something like that? Because we have longtime advocate Senator Melissa Agard, who has always pushed for full legalization. She launched a cannabis tour to listen to people across the state over the next several weeks. So it kind of just depends if there will actually be something. But it does excite a lot of Wisconsinites who have been wanting to see this, according to polling here.
So look at the Senate first. LeMahieu hasn't been the problem. It's actually been preceded him, and the caucus was the issue. Former Majority Leader Scott Fitzgerald had said he was opposed to it. His caucus was opposed to it. The caucus has changed a little bit in the last couple of sessions. So when Devin said his caucus was getting there, that raised hopes that, okay, something's going to finally get done. But then Vos kind of put cold water on the idea, saying he didn't know if the support was there. What he really meant, though, was that he has 16 new members this session. He wasn't sure where they are at the medical marijuana bill. Now these talks that are going on are trying to find out what their position is, what can they agree to. The big questions, though, are what will be in this bill if one comes together. Are we going to see you can smoke it? Can you only take edibles, drops? Can you grow your own? I mean, there are all kinds of issues like that. What kind of prescription do you have to have? What maladies qualify for getting medical marijuana or prescription if you have one? And then will Democrats vote for it? Because remember, Republicans typically, not always, but want to get enough votes in each chamber to pass it without Democratic votes. Can you get 50 in the Assembly right now for medical marijuana and 17 in the Senate? We'll see.
Right.
But if you need Democrats, how do you get a Democrat to get on board when they are going, look, Marquette University Law School poll says 60% want full legalization, and we're not even close to that. 81% want medical marijuana. So a lot of Democrats go, this is not enough for me to get excited about. So there is movement for sure. The question is going to get across the finish line. Then what's Governor Evers do? His budget includes full legalization, for example. Where is he going to be on this step? Is it incremental enough to get him on board? We shall see.
I think there's also a bigger picture here, JR, when I was thinking about this too, is we've talked before on the show about Republicans trying to change their messaging, right? What can really resonate with voters, because the abortion issue in the past two statewide elections have been a challenge for them. Could this be an avenue that they get voters excited about? Now, remains to be seen, right? But that is something I think some people are not talking about yet, that could be an avenue to get some support and maybe excite people to go to the polls.
And we are increasingly an island when it comes to marijuana, whether it's legalization or medical. Everybody around us is moving there. We're kind of like this kind of island on our own right now.
Right, and also want to recap what happened in the Capitol this week as the Assembly and Senate were in session. We're kind of going to list off and talk about the bills that that they both passed, that the governor is going to sign or likely veto. Let's first start talking about the one that would make stiffer penalties on those if you are caught carjacking. There has been a rise, and specifically in Madison and Milwaukee, two of the state's largest cities in the state. There would also be another one that would double fines for reckless driving. Now, those two bills, we know that the governor is likely to sign. The one that he said he would not this week deals with a trend that we're seeing in California. I know Minnesota is looking at this legislation that would ban state and local governments from implementing or prohibiting gas-powered lawnmowers, gas-powered vehicles, because that's what those states are doing. So they made action on that to say, if that were to happen here, we don't. But Governor Evers said he doesn't think those bans are necessary right now.
Yeah, and the reality is if you follow the car industry, California is moving this direction. Regulators approved this kind of restriction another decade or so. when big states make moves like this, oftentimes it affects the entire industry. And oh, by the way, the federal government trying to increase fuel efficiency standards, that impacts things as well. So you may see fewer gas-powered cars in Wisconsin, period, because of fewer choices with what's going on nationally. What else will happen with this bill?
And quickly, just want to look ahead to next week. The Assembly is back in session, and one of their themes, they like to have themed bills when they do meet, is about unemployment. It would really target unemployment benefits. Now, the bills range from anywhere tying from unemployment benefits to the state's unemployment rate to taking benefits away from individuals who don't show up for job interviews. Now, all of these, most of them, besides one in this package, have already been previously introduced and vetoed by the governor. So, but we've talked about this before, JR, that they're trying to get their messaging intact as well, because this was tied to a statewide referendum that was non-binding, that was tied to welfare benefits and whether asking voters, that overwhelmingly improved it, of whether able-bodied childless adults should be required to search for work.
Those bills were largely vetoed last session, but now the referendum points say, hey, voters want this. They're also on stronger ground talking about an issue like this than they are about abortion or other things. So it's kind of a better spot for them legislatively and politically than really have been the last month with abortion being so dominant in the Supreme Court race.
All right, that will do it for this week. Thanks for joining us.